Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so starting off my morning, got a couple ideas that I've been thinking about in regards to the Brooklyn Nets. If I were in their situation, what would I do? Now, I did a great deal of meditating and really thinking about whether or not I wanted to go forward with this particular video because I don't want to give the ops any ideas, right? But when I weigh that versus what it is that I'm capable of doing, which is fixing problems or seeing things as different tea leaves as a means of maybe saying, yo, here's a couple angles that might help your situation, keep you from being in the cellar. Prayed a great deal about it, and just going to go ahead and tell you what I see here. Hopefully it works out in everybody's favor. I think it will. If I were the Brooklyn Nets and Sean Marks, the first thing I'm honestly doing is assessing if there's any possible way that I can bring everybody back and not have to do nothing else. Is there any way I can, this is pie in the sky. Of course, the answer is no. There's going to be things that have to be done, but is there a way we can just gather everybody back? LA, Kyrie, you come back home from LA. KD, you come back home from where you're at. Reconvene. Check out Ben Simmons. He's ready to go. He's in great shape. We believe he's going to be starting the season fresh and ready to go for a full season. Can we get you back here? If the answer is yes, nothing else to do, hooray, we're happy. If the answer is no, then from there I have to figure out what they want me to do. And the reason why I word it that way is because obviously KD has already put his trade request in. Obviously Kyrie is in place, having opted in to his $36 million contract with the intention of waiting for us to make a decision on his further contract extension or situation. Now, my understanding is there's been an offer put in place that didn't look too good to Kyrie's side. Had contingencies and things of that nature that they didn't want to deal with, however it went. No was said. With that no came an understanding, of course, he was going to have to go face the market as a free agent, and no, he would not get $36 million for any one single season. So, of course, opting in is logical from a financial standpoint. But ultimately, the goal is to lock up. 32 years of age, in your prime, you want to exit your twilight having your best contract, especially being as talented as Kyrie is. So on and so forth. You guys know the story. KD's trying to help him get that money, use his leverage. Hey, look, pay my guy or I'm out of here. Well, you're on a 4-year deal, KD, so we can't exactly move you in this climate. So that's where we're at. Okay. With this being all understood by all parties involved, I think guys are still trying to find their way out of the situation. But unless Sean Marks pulls the trigger, nothing's getting done. And if I'm Sean Marks, I'm not doing anything until I have this type of conversation. So that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for everybody to get back home from where they're at. And then, or we can reconvene a different way. Maybe we can Skype. I don't know. I don't want to commit people to having to fly around. But what I'm saying is we got to communicate first. And from there, together figure out what it is everybody wants to see happen here besides the obvious, which is what has been stated. I'm not asking people to state the obvious. I'm asking people to state what happens from here because of everything that's happened since the trade request has been put out there and we haven't had any deals done. So I want to see what their response will be to that. That will determine how I feel about situations. Maybe they've gone out. I think Kyrie's come to LA and found life after Brooklyn is what he's looking forward to. I think he's ready to go. Personally, that's what I think is happening here. But at the same time, I'm going to look and see what he thinks. Why do I care what Kyrie thinks? Because I still see him as an attachment to KD, and I still value KD. Why do I still value KD? Why is that assumption just automatically in place? Because I can't trade him. Simple as that, right? I don't need to know what they actually think of KD. I now know they have to come back to the table with this very valuable piece, understanding that they couldn't be moved. So, of course, they value it as such. So, since we can't move you necessarily, we don't want you insubordinate or sitting out. That's why Kyrie's still on the team, because we want to give ourselves an out in that way. At least if Kai's still here, maybe there's a chance they both play together or both sit out together. At least we have a better chance with that, with them on tab rather than obviously if trading them after trading them. So that's one of those situations where that's how I'm playing that. Now, in negotiations with Kyrie Irving, listen, when it comes to contracts, I don't know nothing about nothing, but I look at balance, just in balance in terms of just how to make everybody whole. I have a basic understanding of what I think makes everybody whole in basic situations. So without knowing enough, I would just say, if you're going to set up a contract that has contingencies on it, in my mind, you got to give it a boost type of scenario setup, if that makes any sense. Meaning, okay, we have a base level that you're automatically going to get. Base level. Whatever this is signed up for, this is what it is. But if you meet certain contingencies, you get boost. It's not that we're taking something from you if you do anything wrong. We won't take anything from you if you do anything wrong. You just get the base level of what it is that we're offering. But if you meet certain criteria, you get certain boosts. And that way, from my logic, that should level out the playing field in regards to Kai's people responding in a sense to say, well, do anybody else have contingencies? No one else has contingencies or boost of this magnitude. We're giving you something unique to your very own self. And it would only be for a certain duration of the contract. It wouldn't be the entire duration of the contract. It would be one of those situations where this base level situation, okay, this is what we got. These are the boosts if you meet certain criteria. If at the end of this thing you've exceeded the boost or bypassed the boost, we remove the criteria if necessary altogether, or even increase the boost if for some reason you like the boost process. Like if you like the boost, let's say at the end of 2 years, it's a 5-year deal. At the end of 2 years, you've exceeded all expectations. You met all standards. But that extra money looked really good on top of your base, right? So we would have the determination of whether or not we want to keep that boost in place. Maybe we increase the criteria for which the boosts are met or something of that nature for the next 3 years, or just get rid of them entirely and have that in place. Plus, for meeting those boosts and those contingencies, we will have an extended year on the contract for your security, for proving yourself to be reliable. See, these are things that you can make it so that when you have them contingencies in place, they look so damn juicy, you probably look crazy for saying no to it. To the point where you're looking at other guys saying, man, you probably want boosts on your contract too, bro. And these are things that keep people wanting to play more games, wanting them to maybe make certain sacrifices in their lives to choose basketball, because it gives them certain boosts, basically, that otherwise they wouldn't get if for not being there. I know they put boosts in place for other things that the guys do. Oh, make the all-star team, you get this boost. Go for, making a first team all this, you get that much million. You win the finals, get that much. Yeah. In situations like this where you have behavioral issues and things like that, you got to make an incentive base. And you got to make those incentives enticing. In other words, you, the owner, are paying for your own concerns. That's the key to all of it. I know that's a tough sell because you don't want to be paying for your own concerns, but that's what it costs to do business. You want to move players that you're worried about for reasons that are not business related. That should cost you. It shouldn't cost the players. You're the one concerned, not the players. They're ready to play. So that's how I see it in my logic. That's why those boosts are going to be so significant in my mind, because that's what it is. The owner's paying for the cost of his concerns. So that's how you make it make sense to Kyrie, rather than having him lose money for his mistakes. No, you pay for his well-doing in his presence of mistakes, and he doesn't pay for any mistakes at all. That's how I have it set up in my mind. But if for some reason he doesn't meet those contingencies, the contract gets cut off it too. That's the problem. I'm sorry, Reed, that's how we're going to do it. See, if for some reason you are underneath those standards, like completely underneath those standards, or tank those standards, then the contract's ended. We're not going to extend it past 2 years. That's where we end. I would present that to his team. I would present that to KD as well. Not as it pertains to him having that on his deal, but as it pertains to Kyrie having it on his deal, so that they know this is what's going on. And then from there, I see if they go for it. Maybe they go for it, maybe they don't. I don't think he wants any contingency. So maybe, now let's assume he says no. He says no. All right. Fine. I'm trading Kyrie to LA. Straight up. He's out of here. All right. That's cool. That's what happens there. Or I buy him out. If for some reason the Lakers don't want to trade for him and nobody else can trade for him, I have to create that cap space right away, and that's something I'm going to have to eat. Now, unfortunately, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets should already have that in mind right now. He might have already crossed that threshold already. These are the type of situations where it's like, damn, we're already there. We actually have to do that. It may actually be in place. Yes, Brooklyn may actually have to buy Kyrie Irving out if they decide they don't want him to play for their team. I think that's very much a 50-50 right now, because if I'm the Lakers, I'm thinking it's less reasonable to throw in assets that I don't want to throw in. That 29th pick, you're not going to get that for Kyrie Irving. Not 1 year of Kyrie Irving. Not if I'm running things on the Lakers side of things. So, yeah, maybe you get lucky and Dallas wants to, reconvene it, probably do something, or who was it, Miami? One of those other teams were interested. Maybe a new team pops up and considers Kyrie a player they can bring in for 1 year to help boost their situation or something. But to be honest with you, it's probably more likely that they look at the situation the same way we do, that he's probably going to want to be a Laker sooner than later. And it's a good chance that you trading for him is going to ultimately be a waste of those assets. So you weigh that against his injury concerns. Maybe you bring him back with those concerns, and then he gets hurt on top of that. It's like most teams are going to look at all of that possibility and just say, we'll pass. And so that's what I think is going to happen. They could have to buy him out, which is perfect for my Lakers. That's what we're hoping for. So, yeah, I think all in all, if I'm the Nets, I don't hastily make a deal of any kind. I see what is out there, and then I make moves. Now, if they're talking about sitting out and making my team completely trash next year, then at that point, I'm probably going to be in a position to have to make a deal for them. It's not even about whether or not I want to or not. You can't afford to do that. You're worse for keeping them. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. Now, you do have them for multiple years, but you don't want to underestimate a player's willingness to sit out or retire. That's what I'll say, especially when you have a chance to retain value for them. You don't want to risk that. I'm not going to sit up here and commit either player to that, but what I will say is when you're dealing with Kyrie Irving, the likelihood that he'll do something like that is probably higher than anybody else. And if you're dealing with KD, you've seen how he can be. Just, you see how petty he can be. You see how spiteful he can be. And so if you really want to test him, I'm pretty sure he will meet you where you're at. So that's what I'll say about that. I don't think these are the two guys you bluff with in that way. I don't think so, especially now that Kai has gotten his money, got his 36, and you're making it certain that he won't get a certain other amount. It's like he already wasn't choosing basketball. Like, you know what I mean? If you're looking at it that way. So you got to play it smart if you're Brooklyn Nets, because what you don't want to do is find yourself in the cellar after this. Bottom line. And that's the bottom line. You don't want to find yourself in the cellar. So my plan is that contingency with boost, all that stuff. See if he goes for that. Assuming he says no, trade Kyrie to LA. The next move is to trade Ben Simmons somewhere. Because if I'm holding KD hostage, which is what I think Brooklyn probably going to do next, I don't know that I'm holding them hostage. But what I'm saying is, I don't know that I ever pull a trigger on a deal until I'm ready, which consequently will hold him hostage by definition. Okay? Just being real. As a GM, I'm a hard ass. Honestly. I'm not making a move until I see what I like. And you don't like it, you fire me. I'll go somewhere else and hold that same strength for the next organization. So that's just me. They're probably firing me for not pulling the trigger on a deal. So I'll be going back and forth with the owner like, listen, my legacy on the line too. You ain't the only owner out here. I'm gonna have to get a job next too. And if something goes wrong here, it could be the difference between me keeping my career going. So I ain't gonna just do any old thing you want me to do just because I'm employed by you right now. But we gotta find a sweet medium here as well. So it can become a situation like that, because I'm not gonna just trade KD for a bag of chips and have that attached to my name. I'm not gonna do that. So then you got to deal with that type of stuff as well, the wars behind the scenes and things of that nature, which I don't really know enough about to really comment on. I'm just telling you the stance that I would want to take. And assuming I'd be able to take that stance, I'm dragging this out until I get at least 5 picks and 3 players for Kevin Durant. I think that's less than what the Brooklyn Nets are asking for right now. I think they're asking for more like 6 or 7 picks and more like 4 or 5 players. That's not where I'm going to keep that price tag. I'm going to keep it high because of the 4 years and because of the talent level of the player. But I'm going to lower it beneath what it looks like right now, so that I'll have the ability to move it, because I don't think I can move it at that price if I'm trying to do it in a timely fashion. Timely within the next 6 months, I'm telling you. So, yeah, that's kind of my mindset. Now, as far as where I move him to, it's going to be about who has the plunder and who would be willing to take on the risk. And see, that's the problem. And we've talked about this enough, so you guys know how I see it. But I don't think too many teams are going to be just willing to let go of stuff. They got to see a reason to do so. So I think the field will tell me what possibilities will be open later on. Yeah, that's how I see it. But if KD wants to hold out, here's my plan. I'm trading KD for whatever I can get. I'm trading Kyrie for whatever I can get. I'm trading Ben Simmons for whatever I can get. Or I'm keeping Ben Simmons and building around him. However path you want to take, that's pretty much the same path. Going away from those guys is basically the focus. And that's it. That's it. I know I wish there was some better, bigger, grander plan, but there isn't one. You can't afford KD to hold out. Not for one season, not for half a season, not for 6, not for 3 weeks. I don't believe the optics of KD holding out in New York with Stephen A. Smith sitting right there down the hall is a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea at all for the Brooklyn Nets. I think that could really, really be a bad look. Especially when you've had opportunities to trade him for different things. You know, it's the same thing I say about the Lakers in the 29th pick. When you value something very, very much, and, you know, it's obvious the league wants you to give it up or what have you, you got to ask yourself how much it makes sense to hold on to what it is that you're holding on to. It's only to a point that you actually need to value it. You know what I mean? You get to a point where, yes, everyone's trying to pry it from you. Yes. But does it really make more sense for you to just let it go? You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I view the Brooklyn Nets situation. It's like, yes, you guys are trying to hold on to these players. You're trying to make sure you keep these Hall of Famers. You understand what it means to let them go. It's a big deal. And everybody wants you to do it. But in the presence of it, if you bring them back and they hold out and their value gets sunk because of that, because that's what ends up happening, you trade them for even less than what you can get for them now once they start holding out. It gets to that point, and you start leaving room for a lot of things to go wrong. Why? Because Ben Simmons' back is already bad. So what you're going to do is throw him out there with a team that don't have Kyrie or KD on it, but of course without those two, they represent how much of the cap? Yeah, so the type of talent he's going to be running around with and the type of responsibility he's going to have to run around on a bad team with the concerns that he's been having. Yeah, I don't like that plan. That's a bad plan. That's a really bad plan. So you have to weigh that against what it is that you're holding out for in negotiations. That's what I'm telling the Lakers about that 29th pick. It's like, all right, the headaches that are going to come from you not relinquishing this pick, the headaches that come from pissing LeBron James off because he wants you to give up this pick, is it really worth what the pick is worth? Or is it your ego holding on to that pick, which is making it more so valuable than it necessarily needs to be? And that's what I would say to the Brooklyn Nets. Your ego holding on to these players is going to make it so that you end up hurting yourself. You're going to send yourself into the cellar, drawing their value down to the ground, making it so that nobody wants to trade for them for less than a first-round pick and a throw-in player, because they're so unhappy that they're afraid they're going to be unhappy when they get to our spot or to wherever they're going. That's what ends up happening. You look at that four-year length contract, and maybe you don't see him getting back on the basketball floor at 34 years of age. You wonder if he's going to come back the same player, because at this age, you fall off a cliff if you're not active. You fall off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like, your body can run into father time quick if you don't stay active in the NBA at 34 years of age. So it's like, who are you getting back? How long is it going to be before we get him back? Is he going to be in tip-top shape? These are the things that draw his value to the ground in a holdout situation. So I see all this coming. That's why I just wanted to make this video, because it's like, look, Brooklyn, if they mess around, make the wrong decision, they're going to head back to the cellar. And, you know, it's like, that's just what everybody expects them to do. You've been a bad team forever. Like, the whole time they've been bad. And in the moment they get a move and all of this, and they do what they need to do to get better, and they make bad decisions that ultimately make them worse. It's like if you would have just built through the draft, as I've always said, get as many picks as possible, try to get you a victor or two, somebody who come along, change the culture, developing yourself. You can probably keep them more so than maybe a Timberwolves or a Portland would. Like, you're more likely to succeed in that situation than most teams, and you're afraid to go down that path. And it's really a head scratcher. It's really a head scratcher. I would think a team like Indiana would be trying to do stuff you're doing because they can't get nobody. Ain't nobody coming to Indiana. They should be trying to trade all the equity and all this and that for superstars every year. And you know why they don't do that? Because they know they can't win that way either. It's not sustainable. There's no foundation in doing it. That's why no one does it. So I think that's what the Brooklyn ultimately should do. You trade everything for picks, man. You trade everything for trade equity. Things that can give you the flexibility to make moves to make yourself better. There's always going to be another star, and you're always going to be New York. That's two things that I always say, just like the Lakers. There's always going to be another star, and you're always going to be the Lakers. Someone's going to want to put on your jersey because they're going to want to live where that's at. All you got to do is make sure the foundation is good enough to fit them in and give them a winning team. That's your job. That's all your job is. And so if I'm Sean Marks, that's exactly what I'm going to set myself up to do. If I can't get Kyrie to sign no boost contingencies, contract nonsense, and if KD ain't going to just allow me to keep him on contract and build around him and Ben Simmons, if he going to hold out, I'm trading him. And I'm going to get back trade equity and make things better for myself in the long term. Give these fans some homegrown Brooklyn net talent that they can fall in love with from the jump. Somebody that they can have only to themselves, like Brook Lopez or something like that. And if he doesn't pan out, then we trade him for Jason Kidd or something. You know, whatever you know what I'm saying? The latest player that will allow you to see that type of upside. You get him. And then you proceed to get better. You know what I mean? That's how you make yourself better. Instead of mortgaging everything, every single 6 years, every span, you mortgaging your future for guys that are not going to be able to help you going forward, but maybe had done a whole lot behind them. Stop doing the same stuff, Brooklyn. It seems like you're in a space where you kind of like, well, we still want to win now. Okay. You're not going to. Like, you can tell that to your fans, but I know and you know that's not going to be the case. You don't have very good odds of putting together a champion. So if the object is to not build a champion, you take many steps backwards, because any team with Kyrie Irving and KD's on it, they're winning now to win a championship. So that's why I'm like, look, if you're going to take steps backwards, don't take 6 steps backwards. Jump off the entire staircase, man, and start over. Because anything else is just literally getting worse. Just adding 11 losses to your record. How does that help you financially? How does that help you as a franchise? You know, and it's like, no, that doesn't at all. What does help you, though, is the reset button. It helps a lot. So that's where I'm at with it, man. If they can't bring those guys back, and I know they cannot, I don't think they can, I know they can't, then they should just reset and bring the price down on KD. Bingo. As I said, key to the whole video, bring the price down. 5 picks, 3 players. That's all I need. 8 things for KD. That should get it done, man. That should get it done. So if Toronto don't want to give up Scotty Barnes, I respect that you don't want to, make a move with Toronto. Okay, I gotta get Scotty Barnes back in that deal. I feel the same way. I'm not making a move until I get Scotty. Period. And I'm certainly not sending you Ben Simmons so you can have that dynamic I'm dreaming about. Sorry, Toronto. If I'm Sean Marks, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to pair up Scotty and Ben. I'm not trying to send him up there to pair with you. Hell, I'm not doing that. You and I got the same vision. I'm not helping you create my vision. Get out of here. So that's how I'm looking at that personally. So it's a lot of different things they may be able to do as things open up. Hopefully Donovan Mitchell can get moved, and that'll open things up for Sean Marks. Now he can do some things. All right, now maybe he can be the team that lands Donovan Mitchell. Steal him from the Knicks. I'd try that. I mean, I don't like Donovan Mitchell's price tag, as you guys know, but if there's any contingency for losing a star, it should probably be a star, which is the whole AD for KD argument. I ain't put that in this video because I don't think the Lakers are going to do that. I don't think that's on the table no more so than KD for Luka. It's not on the table. So that's how I kind of look at that situation at this point. But yeah, man, that is what I have to say, man. I wanted to come up here and just kind of help the Brooklyn Nets since I have no interest in helping them in real life, but I do see a couple of things that I would do differently or try to do, and maybe they're thinking about doing. But for them, it's just like this whole win now thing. But we want to go away from Hall of Famers. I just think that that's just a silly, really really silly plan, man. It's silly. You don't get better when KD leaves. Ask Golden State. The only way to fix your situation in that situation is to reset like they did. That's how they won afterward. That's how they did. That's how you survive KD leaving. So, that's what I got. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.